did this list. I think this show debuted in the second week of January.
Right.
I believe. A couple of horses that I thought were long shots at the time and under most people's radar are still on the list, but for the most part, my original list looks awful at this point.
You and everybody else. You
so
ready?
we'll
Number 10.
All right, okay. I love you, Sunland Park Derby. I believe. I saw IRAP, the maiden, finish fourth in the race and then win.
Conquest Mo Money.
Yeah, right, and then win the Bluegrass. And Conquest Mo Money lose by a half length for, is it trainer Miguel Hernandez? Is that the gentleman's name? Miguel Hernandez. They spent $200,000 now. They have to decide. But you lose to Classic Empire by a half length and you have outstanding pedigree. Maybe they will. I don't know much about the owner. But
they've talked about spending the money. They paid $8,500 for him at the Conquest Dispersal, and he's earned $500,000.
And beat Conquest Mo Money, what, by 3 3/4 lengths, crushed IRAP, and IRAP wins the Bluegrass, and Conquest Mo Money nearly wins the Arkansas Derby. So Sunland Derby, I believe in it, and hence for Steve Asmussen, who, what's the pedigree here? The street boss, but I'm an AP Indy mare. So
Number 9.
Number 9. Gervin, I know this is the first time you're in my top 10 list. It was difficult to fill out a top 10. I respect you. You seem to be a very honest racehorse. Steve Haskin writes that you're extremely athletic, so I buy what Steve has to say. Horse worked out yesterday morning at Churchill. Pretty impressive workout, too, right? 47-4 at Churchill for Joe Sharp, who said, I didn't want to go that quickly. I don't know if he was blaming his wife, who worked her, worked him, Rosie Napravnik. But Gervin has done nothing wrong, as we like to say. He deserves to be in the top. I think he's a real hard trier. I can see him getting a piece in the Derby. I don't think he's going to win the race, but I can see him finishing 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Mike Smith has committed, which is a stamp of approval
Mike
as
Smith,
well from the Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Okay, number 8.
Well, Battalion Runner, he was initially on my list off of his maiden score. This is an extremely talented racehorse. He was drawn inside the Wood Memorial. He had to go to the lead. Irish War Cry could be your Derby favorite, right? And he's the horse who beat Battalion Runner, who needed that race, hadn't raced in a few months. That was only, what, the 3rd start of his career, 4th start of his career in the Wood Memorial. So there's still room to grow for this horse. I don't think he needs the lead. He got the lead because of the draw in the Wood Memorial. From a talent standpoint, he deserves to be in the top 10.
Number 7.
All right,
Royal Mo.
And during our pre-show meeting, Christina pointed out that right now he doesn't make it in the race on points. He's 24th in the standings. But Thunder Snow is number 6, and he was on my top 10 list last week. He's number 10. But it sounds like they're not coming. So Thunder Snow is not going to go. I don't know about Conquest Mo Money if they'll spend the $200,000. There's going to be a defection or two, right?
Cloud
along
computing
the way.
might be on the bubble, too.
Cloud computing, you were telling me
maybe
Belmont.
about the Belmont with him. He's just lightly raced, and they've done a lot with him in the last 6 weeks.
20 days out at 24, we went over 3 horses. A good chance they're not going to go in the race. I think there's a chance this horse gets in. He's a horse who's run very well, obviously, out here at Santa Anita. And I thought his performance in the Santa Anita Derby was great because he was part of that hot pace. They went 22-3, 46-2, and he was widest. It was a 3-pronged speed duel up front. American Freedom was part of that speed duel. He finished second to last.
Right. In
the race. So I think Royal Mo is legitimate, son of Uncle Mo. So hopefully he can get in.
Number 6, Battle of Midway, talking about that pace duel.
You're right. He was part of the pace duel also. And I actually think Royal Mo actually ran a little better than Battle of Midway in that race, the more I've looked at that race. But I already had Battle of Midway in front of Royal Mo, so I wasn't going to catapult him in front of a horse that ran a good second, I thought, in the Santa Anita Derby. The race was slow late, but Battle of Midway was pretty gutty. He's number 6. Number 5, Gunnevera, this is another horse that I really think his Florida Derby prep was perfect, right? He had the big win, the flashy win in the Fountain of Youth, bad draw, Florida Derby. I hate questioning Javier because he's so good. I think he overreacted to the bad post a little bit and kind of jerked him over to the rail too much. He actually made some contact with the fence. The pace wasn't that quick. And if you watch that race, which I'm sure many of you have done it over and over again, like I have, he was going to run 5th or 6th in that race. I thought it was pretty impressive for him to close in the manner in which he did, the last 16th of a mile, to get up and finish 3rd. So the son of dialed in.
See how he looks as we get closer to the first Saturday in May, because Caton pointed out, I think very wisely, that he was maybe a little light going into the Florida Derby.
Yes.
Now he's had 4 weeks. I know your wife's a huge fan of Dialed In. I'm a huge fan of Dialed In, just to see what he can do with a little more time, put a little weight on, kind of bigger, stronger Gunnevera come first Saturday in May.
I love the folks at Derby Dan. Number 4, sort of like with Gunnevera, when we first watched the Bluegrass, I think most of our initial impressions were, ugh, McCracken, ooh, no good. The setbacks have taken its toll.
The maiden wins the race.
Yeah, and the maiden wins the race. And then you go back and look at it, and he needed the race a little bit. He actually made, I thought, a big-time move in that race between horses from about the half-mile pole to the quarter pole. I thought he made a pretty good move, about a furlong and a half, maybe 2 furlongs, and then he kind of flattened out a little bit. But he made that move that I wanted to see. I think Ian Wilkes was probably pleased with that effort. We know he likes Churchill.
Right.
He has 3 wins there. I think his prep race was, we're so used to the last couple of years, we've had a lot of chalk win the Derbies, and when Derby favorites win, it's because they probably won their last Derby prep. That's why they were favored in the Derby. But forever, not only do we have favorites to not win the Derby, after Spectacular Bid won it in '79, the next, I think, favorite to win the Derby was Fupeg in 2000.
And now we've had 4 in a row.
Now we've had 4 in a row, but the point is, during that span, the winners of those races were horses that did not win their final preps. They're horses that ran well but didn't win. I think Gunnevera fits that description. I think McCracken fits that description also. Ian Wilkes'
post-race comments were so confident, too. I mean, after the race, you could tell he was not surprised, he was not disappointed, he was not feeling any type of setback. This is sort of course you always want to win, but he saw what he needed to see to press on and still has a lot of confidence in his horse.
This is a horse that, again, is the highlight of my initial Derby top 10 list, because I had this horse on the list off of his win in Maryland, against Maryland, a stakes race down at Laurel. His win in the Wood, you know, he showed the speed in the Holy Bull, nobody wanted to lead, and Classic Empire didn't fight. Pretty key race now, right? With Gunnevera next time out winning the Fountain of Youth, second in the Holy Bull. Classic Empire next start, wins the Arkansas Derby, 2 races removed, Irish War Cry, after winning the Holy Bull, wins the Wood Memorial. So that's a strong race, the Holy Bull. And I think Graham Motion loved the draw he got in the Wood Memorial, because he basically said, I really like my horse, but he has to prove to me that he can rate, because his best performance was on the lead in the Holy Bull. Outside draw, forced him to rate, sit behind Battalion Runner, and boy, was he effective. And I think from a visual standpoint, the horses number 2 on the list and Irish War Cry maybe look the best at the end of their races. This is a serious racehorse with outstanding pedigree, a Jersey bred by Curlin, who, I don't know, your Derby favorite's going to be 9-2. He could end up being the horse that I bet in the Kentucky Derby, depending on price.
Irish War Cry number 3, number 2.
Always Dreaming, son of Bodemeister, who didn't win the Kentucky Derby, but it's one of the great second place efforts. There's been a few better, but it was still probably top 10 second place Derby effort ever when he lost all of another. That was I thought he might open up turning for home in that race. This horse, it seems like he has everything, right? The mental demeanor, the physical characteristics that you're looking for, the Derby running style that we're looking for, the way he finishes his races. He's really blossomed
at 2 turns as well. You look at his 2-turn races, and they just keep getting better with each and every start.
Yeah, and that Florida Derby win, again, I'm not a huge gallop out guy, because I always kid around with Kurt Hoover. You know, the race is over at the finish line, and some horses aren't really trying to gallop out. Some riders aren't really, they're kind of, you know, their horse is a little bit tired. So it depends, but the gallop out for this horse in the Florida Derby, even I was like, wow, look at him finish out. I mean, he's 12 in front of everybody else. And number 1, he was number 1 last week, and you know, why make a change off of that win in the Arkansas Derby? I mean, what this horse has been through, maybe in normal years, you'd be asking too much for a horse than to be what he's been through and come back and win the Kentucky Derby. But this is not a very strong feet group this year. You know, after you get out of the top 5, to be honest with you, I think once you get past Gunnevera, I think there's a drop-off. I think there's a big drop-off to 6 through 10.
6 through 10 could be different for everybody's list.
Right, but
1 through 5
I think most people
similar.
will have the same top 5, probably just in a different order. But he broke slowly. He steadied. He was wide, turning for home. I'm curious to see what I think you're more of a thoroughgraph player than I am. I'll look at it occasionally. I'm guessing his thoroughgraph number is going to look better than his Beyer number, because he was early on, he broke from the 2-hole and he had those problems, but then he had a pretty wide trip after that. So, and just an amazing job by Mark Casse, Norm Casse, the entire team, right, to get this horse.
Well, essentially, he's lost twice. When he lost the rider and he had a horrible foot abscess. He wins when he's 100%.